Because we had a situation last week where a DNR patient was resuscitated, and I really want to know what led up to that.
So I believe that was, from what I heard, I wasn't actually there, I believe it was a conflict that there was between two nurses. Just before we actually start with suggestions and bringing up what the issue was that day, I just wanted to let you guys know that, that patient being a DNR patient is a great concern for the hospital and the facility when they are resuscitated. Remember, these patients sign waivers and we are liable for it. Right now, my desk has been flooded with paperwork because of this situation. The facility could be facing a potential lawsuit, so we need to get to the bottom of this. It's not a great reflection of what our hospital and our staff is capable of. So what we want to do today is just open the floor for some suggestions. We want to talk about what went wrong, what we can do moving forward, any frustrations that you guys may have with your job, what's holding you back, any barriers. So we'd like everybody to participate today. We'd like as many suggestions as you guys can present, and then we'll go from there.
So you mentioned conflict resolution. I think it's really important that we have a way for nurses to communicate with each other if they're having trouble solving problems. So if we need to intervene, then we could have a process for that. So I think we're going to start something on conflict resolution between nurses who can't solve it between themselves. Anybody else want to input anything?
Okay, so I didn't know that my patient was DNR, and I feel that if there was a proper report given, I would have known, and no proper report was given to me by any other nurses. So that kind of led to the problem.
I think that when the shift is being handed over to the next nurse, it's very important for the nurses to communicate well with each other and let the other nurse know what the status of the patient is, whether it's DNR or it's not DNR. So communication is a big thing here. I think this whole problem that occurred was as a result of miscommunication between the two nurses.
Just to add to that, I think the verbal report is really important because when we come in the mornings, I don't think we have enough time to go through the cardex for all the patients that we are assigned for and look at all the information that's needed. So I think a little bit more information should be included in the verbal report. So, certain things like DNR and stuff, you're aware of it before you go into the patient's room. So maybe that's something that we need to think about.
So you think maybe we can do a verbal reporting in service where we talk about minimum things that should be said when you guys are giving a verbal report about your patients, DNR status, allergies, stuff like that. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, because it sounds right now that the issue is reporting and communication, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah?
Yeah.
So it sounds like we'll have to put together some sort of in-service that, there can be some method of passing on important information such as a DNR, which is extremely important as I outlined prior. Okay, would anybody like to make any other suggestions?
Yes, I think so. We do need a visual aid in the rooms, in the
patient rooms?
in the patient's room.
Okay.
And a DNR stating that this patient is a DNR. That would give us a heads up of this patient is a DNR or not DNR.
Yeah.
Okay. That should be implemented in the setting.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea because if we're not the nurse for that patient, if we're passing by and if we see that a patient is having a hard time breathing, then we will know when to intervene, right? So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So you guys think we should have signs or construction paper, some sort of a sign that says, or color that says that they're full code, like blue for full code and black for DNR, something like that we can keep over the head of the bed of the patients.
It can be something internal that we
Yes.
So we will as nurses know.
Yeah.
Because obviously we want it to be private, right? We want to advocate for our patients' privacy.
Exactly, and we have to bear in mind privacy as well because it's extremely important for the
Confidential.
hospital. Confidentiality, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, that's a great point.
Okay, also I think there's issues with the binders, having two big binders for the cardex. Not everybody can get to them since everyone's using it right in the morning. So we can't get the information we need to care for our patient right at the beginning of shift.
Okay.
So I think we have to do something about that as well.
So you're saying that there's too few?
No, there's too few because there's only 2 big binders.
Okay.
So
So
all the nurses, we only have 2 binders. So
Oh,
like
okay.
we all come in and then sometimes you don't get to the binder. You have to wait, a couple of hours to get to it. So maybe we have a couple of them. Or
okay.
maybe, something that we can all look into. So
It's like a high level information. You just have all the patient's information. Is
patient's
that what-
information.
Okay.
So you guys think that maybe we could have several binders for each nurse that the night nurse could hand over to the morning nurse and vice versa, and you can have the name on top of the binder and then their assignment on top as well, and then the patient profile and the shift handover as well. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that
So
sounds
each
good.
nurse would have their own binder,
That's a
and
good
then
idea.
they'll write their own, and then they have to make sure they set up the new binder for the nurse that they're handing it over to.
So the night shift nurse will set up the binder for the day shift and then vice versa. When
Yeah,
they're
that
switching,
sounds good.
when day shift and night shift is switching, you can switch those as well.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a good suggestion. Anybody else have anything else to add to that?
No, I think that's a good way to go for a change.
Yeah, I think these
It will
should do
improve.
something better. Yeah,
Yeah.
it should improve our.
So I'm gonna come out with the new change very soon. I think maybe next week I'm gonna come up with the binders and I'm gonna start implementing it. We're gonna start teaching all the other nurses as well about this new change that we're gonna have.
We'll discuss it a little bit further, Shweta and I, and then we'll bring it forth to the team. Before we put it into use, we will have another team meeting just so that everybody's on the same page, everybody knows what's going on, what these binders are going to be used for, how to communicate them, and then we'll go from there. And we want to avoid situations like we had in the past because it's like I said, it's not a great reflection of our hospital, not a great reflection of our team either. We are proud to say that we have a group of strong nurses, strong leaders, and so a situation like this, it's not, it's
very
not
unfortunate.
Desirable.
yeah, and it makes for uncomfortable conversations just, with families, and if it gets in the news, we don't want that kind of negative media on our hospital or on our staff for that matter. Okay?
Thank you guys for coming
Thank you
out. and-
everyone, and again, if you have
suggestions.
any suggestions, you can reach Shweta and I.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.